What if Darth Vader resurrected Padme Amidala? Let's start this story after the Empire Strikes Back, when Vader learned that it was his son Luke who destroyed the Death Star and confronted him at Cloud City. Vader sits on his throne at his castle on Mustafar and gets lost in deep thought about Padme, his wife, and the life and family that could have been his. He hasn't thought about her in a while and has lost all hope of bringing her back from the dead. However, the recent discovery of Luke has reignited this spark inside of him, and he travels to the archives within his castle. He scrounges around the dark side texts and holocrons that he's collected over the years, and spends what feels like an eternity reading them, looking for an inkling of hope to save her. But he doesn't find anything, and sends books and holocrons flying out as he lets out his rage. But when he calms himself, he goes to his meditation chamber. He connects deeper with the dark side than he has in a long time. He enters a sort of trance, controlled by the dark side, and is unaware of how much time is passing. But he begins to hear a voice whispering his name, and Vader snaps back into focus. He tries to look for the source, but realizes it wasn't in this room, and feels it coming from under his castle. He travels to the caves under his castle, but the voice is deep into the planet's core, and he uses the Force to burrow down, going further and further as the voice gets louder and louder. He rips open the earth below him, and he falls into a cavern below. It was circular in shape, with red writing all over the walls, and a stone tablet in the center. He hears the voice speak clearly now, and senses it originating from a smoky white light traveling around the room. What is this place? He asks the voice, who tells him it's the answer to the question he's been asking. The voice explains how Mustafar as a planet is inherent to the dark side, and thus can cause various anomalies in dark side energy to occur. He continues explaining how this cavern is a dark side locus, and if he harnesses the energy it creates, he can achieve the power to burst into the afterlife and save his wife. Vader's eyes go wide underneath his helmet. The answer has been right here the entire time. He asks the voice how to do it, and it guides Vader through the process. It begins chanting as Vader focuses the Force onto the stone tablet. A red light darts out of the center of the rock, and the planet begins to shake. Vader can feel the other dimensions on the other side. Someone is waiting for him. It wants him to open it. It calls to him. Vader slams his fist down on the rock, and the door to this extra dimension opens. The door opens slowly, and Vader puts his hands on either side and uses all of his energy to pull it apart to make the entrance larger. He seizes the moment and blasts open the entrance as his body is thrust into the other dimension. His physical body is left behind as he travels into this dimension as a Force spirit. He hears voices around him and images of the past, events that have shaped him as a person. He travels up a set of stairs to see Palpatine and Obi-Wan, the two people who have been like a father to him, yet one he betrayed and the other he gave everything to. They begin fighting, with Palpatine winning, symbolizing him beating Obi-Wan for Anakin's power. But as Vader reaches the top, he blasts Palpatine with lightning and moves forward to the balcony ahead, where he finally sees the person he came for, the woman he loves the most in the entire universe and has dreamed about for decades. Vader can't believe his eyes as Padme turns around, exactly like he remembers, and she reaches out her hands towards Anakin, who grabs it, and his vision goes white as he's teleported across the galaxy to Naboo and to the shrine of Padme Amidala. He's initially disorientated, but his vision is pulled towards the stone carving of her grave and wonders what has happened, until he senses it: life. He uses the Force to crack the gravestone and move it away to reveal his fallen wife, Padme Amidala, alive once again and as beautiful as ever, as if a day had not passed. She gets up, but trembles back as the looming figure of Darth Vader stands over her. She asks Vader who he is, and he takes off his helmet to tell Padme it's him. It's Anakin. He's brought her back, and that he's sorry for everything he did to her. Padme is quite disorientated, but Vader explains how 20 years have passed since her death, but he's managed to bring her back with the Force. Anakin falls in love with Padme all over again, and uses this to sustain his life force without his helmet on. She asks Anakin what happened to him, and he gives her a brief summary of the last 20 years and the state of the galaxy now. Padme is initially upset with him. The man she loved couldn't do anything of what Vader had done, and he wouldn't support a galactic empire. But she looks upon Anakin's scarred and deformed face and realizes the pain he must have been through over the last 20 years. She knows the pain, the same pain she felt when Anakin was changing the night of her death. But under all his injuries, she can see the man she loved was still there. Padme asked about the fate of their children, and Vader tells her Luke is a Jedi and leads the rebellion against the Empire. This brings Padme so much joy, and then she asks about Leia, and Vader asks her who that is, which has Padme confused, who explains that Leia is Luke's twin sister and his daughter. Anakin takes a step back as he processes the information. Could she mean Leia Organa? It would make sense. Obi-Wan was close with Bail Organa and might have given his daughter to the senator. This brings him joy until he realizes all he's done to her, killed her adoptive family and entire planet. How could he do this? Together they discuss what to do next, and Padme reassures Anakin that he can right his wrongs, fight alongside his son against the tyrannical Empire and Palpatine, the man who turned them against each other. There is hope. He pulls her out of the grave, and they engage in a long hug. Padme Amidala has returned to the galaxy. Anakin and Padme have no way to contact the rebellion, but Padme believes Naboo would be aligned with the rebellion and decides to visit the Queen. She uses the secret tunnels in the city of Theed, only known to the royal families, as she enters the royal palace. The Queen was confused who it was at first, but then recognized her, the famed Padme Amidala. Everyone on Naboo knew her name. Padme doesn't have time to discuss how she's there, but finds out from the Queen that Naboo is loyal to the rebels, and she gives her the location of the rebel base, and they head there immediately. As they enter the atmosphere of the Rebel Alliance's base, their ship is hailed and asked for the landing code, but Padme tells them they're here to see Mon Mothma, and tells them a specific saying that her and Mothma used to bring up back when they were senators, something only they would know. They land their ship, and Mon Mothma comes personally. When she enters, she can't believe it when she lays eyes on Padme and hugs her deeply, but takes a step back when she sees Vader and asks Padme if this was a trick. But Padme reassures her that it's not. She really is back, and Vader is not their enemy, not anymore, and tells her his real identity as Anakin Skywalker. Mon Mothma was shocked by this. Anakin has been the one causing the rebels trouble all these years. They discuss this to some extent, but Padme tells Mothma that they don't have time and need to see their children, Luke and Leia, and she tells Padme she's in luck, that they're both here at the base. Mon Mothma sets up a meeting and takes Anakin and Padme to meet their children. They enter, and the two shudder back as they see Vader walk in. Luke puts his hand on his lightsaber, but Mon Mothma tells them that it's not what they think, and leaves them to have their family time alone. Vader takes off his helmet to reveal Anakin's face. He tells Luke he really is his father, and next to him is his mother Padme Amidala. Whilst Vader puts his helmet back on, Padme rushes over to hug Luke and puts her hand on his cheek. But Anakin says that Luke wasn't their only child, that Leia is also their child and the twin sister of Luke. They look at each other in shock, but Anakin tells them to sense it through the Force and they'll know it's true. Luke does this and he feels some connection to Leia, but he is not convinced. However, Obi-Wan's Force ghost appears, much to the shock of everyone in the room. He stands between Luke and Leia and tells them it's all true. He was there that night Padme gave birth, and he himself delivered the twins. They can't believe it. How could Darth Vader, the man who's pure evil, be their father? It doesn't make sense to either of them. Leia doesn't want to accept it. She can't. But Vader reaches out with the Force and touches their souls, showing them it's the truth. Luke asks Padme how she's here, that he was always told she died when he was young. Anakin explains how he used the Force to bring her back so they could all be together. But Leia steps in, asking Anakin how he could think she would forget everything he's done, all the people he's killed, including her entire planet. Anakin lowers his head knowing he has no right, but he tells her he'll give it all up, everything for his family. He'll join them in their fight against the Empire, and attempt to make up for every bad thing he's ever done. Leia simply glares at him, and knows it will never be enough, but Luke steps forward, and tells them all the journey will be long, but there is hope for Anakin to redeem himself, and the first step is to help them defeat the Emperor, and maybe after that, they can try to become the family they should have been from the very start. No one is ever truly gone, and the Force has granted them an opportunity they can't take for granted. Everyone agrees, and they set their plan in motion. Vader meets with the rebel leaders, and tells them a new Death Star is being built, and that Palpatine spends most of his time there aboard it. However, it is not yet operational, and they have to destroy it before it is. They discuss their plan, and gather all of the rebel forces, and prepare for the second assault on the Death Star. Vader goes back to Sidious early, and meets with him on the Death Star. Vader hasn't forgotten his hate and the dark side, but has shifted its focus towards the Emperor, rather than just himself. Palpatine was unaware of Vader's defection to the rebels. He still senses the hatred Vader normally experiences, and there always is some projected towards him. He does sense a slight flicker of love and happiness, but he assumed this was towards Luke, his son being alive, but he has measures in place to deal with this, and didn't even consider Padme to be alive. During their meeting, they both sense it at the same time. The entirety of the rebel fleet coming out of hyperspace. Palpatine was surprised by this. He thought he'd hidden the second Death Star well enough, but no matter. He had a plan for this. He contacted more of his forces to accompany them in the Battle of Endor. The rebels' fleet engages the Imperial forces in space, the largest battle since the Battle of Coruscant decades ago. Sidious and Vader reach out of the window, and Sidious is joyful at the opportunity to wipe out the rebels here and now. Usually, Sidious would send Vader to join the fleet, but they sense Luke Skywalker is with them, and suspects he might confront them on the Death Star, so he needs Vader just in case. However, Vader knows Luke will come to them, as they discussed this earlier. Luke does this, and lands in the Death Star hangar bay, and fights his way towards the throne room. He enters, and comes in front of the Emperor, who offers for Luke to join him, to take his father's place by his side. But Luke tells him this will never happen, and ignites his green blade across from him. Sidious commands Vader to do the same, and fight his son. Vader ignites his lightsaber, but instead of swinging for Luke, he swings right back towards Sidious, who at the last second senses this betrayal, and uses the Force to block the incoming strike. Luke dives in, but Sidious kicks him away, and ignites two blades, ready to fight the two Skywalkers. The fight is intense, and Sidious uses every darkside technique he knew, but Vader advanced onward, using his brute force to break through Sidious's defenses and put him off balance. Luke uses his youth and agility to weave in and out of Sidious's attacks while slipping his own, but Sidious was outmatched by the two Skywalkers and fell to Anakin's blade as he enacted his revenge against the man who took everything from him. They look out of the throne room window towards the battle and see the rebels are gaining the advantage. They must have been successful in blocking the hyperspace routes into the Endor system, as no backup has arrived for the Empire. They exit the Death Star immediately and get out just in time as Han Solo and Chewbacca deliver the final strike, blowing up the Death Star and winning the Battle of Endor. Victory was the rebels. The rebels all meet and have a celebration of their victory and congratulate Luke and Anakin for their job in defeating the Emperor, but they discuss how their job is not finished. The Empire's forces run far and wide, and someone will step in to lead them, and the true war has only just begun. But with the backing of the Skywalker family, there is no way they could lose. The Skywalkers all meet together and celebrate the victory. They spend hours reminiscing over lost times, Anakin and Padme telling them stories about how they first met, when they got married, and their life during the Clone War. The stories about how their romance nearly got exposed, but managed to keep their secret. Anakin told them about the Jedi Order when it was in full force, and how they truly were the guardians of the galaxy. And now with the Sith defeat, the job of rebuilding the Order is left to them. Leia has started to forgive Vader, and she started seeing him as Anakin Skywalker. Vader could not be more happy. Although the past 2 decades were dark, plagued by hate and anger, he's finally ventured back into the light, with his shining star, Padme Amidala, back at his side once again. If you enjoyed this video, you have to watch What If Darth Vader Saved Padme with Time Travel, or What If Darth Vader Reached His Full Potential. Please subscribe and like the video, continue to comment as I love reading and replying to you all, and may the Force be with you.